Unlaced podcast. It's actually not bad. It's really good, bro. Well done.
Jamie Maclaren, back on the Unlaced podcast. How are you, bro?
I'm good, bro. Very good. It's good to be back for the second time around.
I know, you were one of the inaugural guests, like in the first 5 shows. So I love you for that. We love you for that here. So thank you for your support. And to get you back on now, I mean, we just have to, because you've had probably one of the most unbelievable years or domestic seasons anyone's had in the A-League, and then topped off by some Socceroo honours towards the end of the season, which we'll get into. For those that have been following you, and I'm sure a lot of people who tune into this show are soccer fans, so they're probably aware of Jamie's achievements this year, but the last 2 weeks, man, let's just get into that, have probably been the weirdest weeks of your life. And the reason for that is you were in quarantine watching your beloved Melbourne City play in the grand final and win the Premiership.
Man, that was hard. I think I don't want to under-talk it, but for me and Curtis Good, who was sitting in hotel quarantine, knowing that we're actually in Australia, you know, we're not overseas, we're in the country, and you know, we were 30 kilometres away from Macarthur when they played them in the semi-final, and to
Didn't even think of that. You were out there in the same state for the semi.
so we missed the semi and the final, and Jakey, honestly, mate, like if you really do think about it, how upsetting it was for us. You know, you work so hard in pre-season to then sit there, and you know, it's an honour playing for your country, don't get me wrong, but to, you know, you work from day one with your club, and you set a goal, and our goal was to win the Premier's Plate, and thankfully me and Kurt were there for that moment. But the grand final, which is something I've never done before, I've played in one and obviously got beat, so
Yeah.
to watch the boys do it was definitely a proud moment of myself. But yeah, like I said, it was against a very good team in Sydney, and we were so nervous going into it.
Man, I said this to you off air, like, I'm so glad you guys won, because if you didn't, that was going to be the reason why everyone would have turned to, well, our best defender and best player of the season, Curtis Good, and then probably the best player this year and our biggest goal scorer and goal scoring threat aren't in the team. And obviously Connor Metcalf too, who's probably starting 11 too. So
Yeah, look, Jakey, I find you know, words difficult to say. It's a case of, you know, we would have felt so guilty, you know, we did feel it anyway, you know, leaving our boys go out to battle, so to speak, and to not be able to be there in a grand final. And you know, there's been a lot of talk about, you know, missing the 3 players, and Sydney were missing their 3 players, and you know, our young boys really stood up, and I was obviously very proud of them. But yeah, at the same time, you work so hard from day one with these boys, and obviously your brothers, who,
yeah,
you know, it's such an honour to train with them every single day and see them improve, and see how we've grown as a group, to then not being able to be in the biggest moment this club's ever had. And it was bittersweet, but like I said, me and Kurt had a celebratory drink together on a Zoom call, downing a bottle of wine, you know.
That's gold.
Yeah.
Oh, mate. So, but why was this timed like so badly? Because this is a one-off. Like, this would never happen. So my assumption is it was because of COVID.
Yeah, I think the ins and outs of it we don't fully know. I think Melbourne City, you know, within 3 months before the season had ended, they did say to the leagues, look, obviously there's going to be some Socceroos leaving from all different clubs around the A-League, but final series will coincide with that. And what do you want to do? And I think 10 clubs, well, I'm led to believe 10 clubs said, no, just keep it how it is. And Melbourne City said, well, okay, well, you're going to run the risk that you might lose players as well. Because I think Arnie had spoken to all the clubs and said, you know, I'm keeping track on every single player, and there's 1 player in at least each club.
Yeah.
And the clubs ran with it. And, you know, once the squad was named, look, me and Kurt and Connor were under no illusion. We knew that we were going to miss a grand final purely because of the 14-day quarantine.
Yeah.
The dates just didn't add up. And you kind of saw the outbreak in Sydney, and you're kind of thinking, you know, you have a little small feeling in your gut, maybe if they delay it by a week, we probably could make it. But even doing 2 weeks quarantine, you're still not match fit. You know, it doesn't matter what you do in there. You can ride a bike to Tour de France, but you're still not going to be match fit. So,
Even mentally, man, you just must have been staring at the same 4 walls every day. Like, just...
Yeah. You are. You 100% are. You can do so many FaceTimes with your family and your missus. And look, it's difficult. But like I said, I'm so proud to sit here being a Premier and a champion, knowing that, you know, I was involved in a championship winning squad with the first time Melbourne City's ever done it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, man. It's a big achievement for them, and it's been brewing. I mean, the squads that they've been building, the culture, obviously the takeover from Manchester City as well. For those that are listening and are like, what are we talking about? Well, to give context, Jamie and a couple of his teammates, Curtis Good and Connor Metcalf from Melbourne City, played all season for Melbourne City, taking them to win the championship, win the league, and then got into the final series. And fortunately, were called up to play for the Socceroos, which is everyone's dream. And obviously, that's what you want to do and you have to do. But just due to the circumstances of coronavirus, the boys had to come back and quarantine for 2 weeks and missed arguably the most two important games of the season, which key players was bittersweet. And I know you are a competitive guy, and I think we spoke as well before of like you're sort of maturing as a footballer and a person. You definitely have more of a team first mentality, probably more than you ever used to. Yeah. And as happy as you are for the boys in the club, like it must have still, knowing you, it must have still hurt not being able to like actually have your impact on those moments.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to be a liar here and say that a couple of years ago, if I hadn't scored in a game, I'd be fucking fuming. I'd be coming off the pitch, and if we had have won, it would have been a lot better. But if you lose games, you kind of take the burden on your shoulders and think, my boys are looking at me. I didn't score today, or I missed a few chances, and some games you find it hard to sleep at night because you miss a gilt-edged chance or whatever. So to not be around for those big things, you kind of you miss it, mate. But at the same time, I'm so proud, and I know that the work that not only me but Curtis and Connor we contributed this year, it's enough, and I think the boys really stood up, and that's what you want. And in this culture, this club has always been pampered with, and people are saying that they get given everything. They run the league, and I think, well, don't you want A-League clubs to start investing big money and having good training grounds? And you ask every player in the A-League if you want to come to Melbourne City, they'd probably say yes.
Yeah.
There'd be very small percentages that would say no because you're given everything as a footballer. That's your dream, to wake up every morning and have everything given to you, and all you got to do is tie your laces and go out there and play. So we're in a privileged position, and at the same time, I'm get to do it at home.
It's the best job in the world, man. Why were you guys you guys were so good this year and like consistently, but not just like getting results, like you're actually really entertaining to watch. And I think it was like the free flow attacking football, but like you guys were creating it would have been a dream for you in some regards as a striker. But you guys were creating so many chances, and it was just exciting to watch. Like why did it click so well? What made you guys sort of that step up from the league, I guess? Well,
firstly, when I joined City in 2019, obviously Warren Joyce, who I knew quite well from my days in England, and he brought me over. And when I first joined, the squad was on paper very, very good. Richie Delat, Bart Shankerveld, they've all obviously moved on.
Yeah.
Dario Vidicic was still playing. So I'm thinking, this is some squad that can win the league, but we just couldn't get results. And the fans were on the back of the coach, and obviously the situation with Bruno and obviously that all didn't help. But at the same time, I look at that, and when Warren left, they employed Eric Mombert, who a French. He's married PSG. He's managed, Yokohama F. Marinos, and he's worked with the French Federation under 21s, and it's a huge name. And for us, from day one, he rocked up in his nice big jacket, and he just had an aura about him. And I was like, "Fuck, this is big now. We need to, something has to turn. The only way is up because we bowed out of the final series last year, and this was my first sort of preseason going into it. And day one, he was like, balls. We're not running. We're using the balls, awesome. And that was one of the first times in preseason I've ever had the balls out in day one. And we just worked on with mannequins and just worked on structures and the way we're going to play and the rotations. And you could see from preseason everybody was buying into it. There was no one going their own way. And when you've got that, it set us up to where we are today. But the players that have stuck around this season are only reaping the rewards from last year. So we wouldn't have been this good this year if we didn't have last year. So. And obviously, PK has stepped into the role unbelievably, but let's not forget he had Eric who was guiding him, and PK was sort of the translator with sort of the broken English that Eric had. So, like I said, last year was so enjoyable, but we've just gone and bettered that. And I thought last year we were good, but we've just gone to a whole new level now. And I think the way we play is exciting, and we don't take the backward step from minute 1 to minute 90.
Yeah, I feel like for the listeners that are tuning in, like, it's really hard to understand where you guys are at now, how much work and time that takes. So it's quite similar to what happened at Adelaide with Gombau when he created this whole philosophy in Mantra, and then he left, and then Amor came in, and it was just kind of the wheels were already rolling. And obviously you make some amendments, but it's kind of similar to what City have. And you guys have just exploded this year. I almost feel like now you're in a position, your team, where if certain players come in and out and you replace them, that the team doesn't break. It's still the same sort of, because it's such a well-oiled machine.
Well, that's the thing. And if you want to talk about examples, let's say Josh Brillante, fantastic player. We've both played with him. But he left, and we were like, how are we going to replace him? And then Aidan O'Neill comes in, and Roston Griffiths, who has played 6 all his life, who's now being converted into a centre-back, can play that role unbelievably. So you kind of think the players that we're losing, and then the players that we're replacing with. So Lockie Wales left, but then Marco Tilio came, and you're kind of thinking, like, these boys are starting to buy into, and credit to Petrillo who does all the signings, because you can't just go out there and sign the best players. You got to sign players that fit the mould, and they have. And you come this year and you see that. I go out for a game and I think, after 60 minutes, I'm thinking, fuck, our bench is good. Like, if they're going to make a sub, then I know that, Tilio or Stefan Kolakovsky is going to come on and make runs in behind and be dangerous for me. So from minute 0 to minute 90, I know that we're going to be dangerous. And it's actually just, going, even in the warm-up, I'm buzzing about because I know we're just going to play some good football. There's nothing worse than going out there and think, back's against the wall, we're going to park the bus and grind out a draw. Fuck that. We're going for 3 points every single game.
Yeah.
And we're throwing everything at it.
Yeah. Are there any, because of the amazing talent you guys have, I think you got a really good balance of experience, imports, obviously Socceroos, and also young players. Are there any young players for you that stand out that you think have got a real bright future?
Yeah, there is. There's a lot. And I think, obviously when coaches start to say, all these young players, let's be honest, coaches ain't going to play young players in the starting 11, all of them.
No.
You've got to have experience.
100%.
And I've been in that position as a young player, and I look at the squad and think, they're getting on. But at the same time, these are the boys you learn from.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to understand that now as I get older. I'm 28 this month. And I think I'm starting to fall into that fucking old category now.
You are, bro.
I'm not a young player anymore. I've got to start giving guidance. But, you need a squad of balance. And like you said, you've got to have young foreign players, and you've got to have young and obviously older players who can help. So, look, we've got a great balance.
Yeah.
Our foreign players, we've nailed it on the head.
Yeah.
Obviously, Nooney was unbelievable this year. I think the best winger in the league.
With most chances created.
And there you go. So, a player like him, to lure him to Australia and to have two great seasons, because I thought he was good last year, but he went to another level this year.
Yeah, he's a top player.
You look at him and you think, he's at 33 years of age. He's so durable. And people think, he's 30. He
plays like he's 26.
Mate, he's playing every single game.
Yeah.
And if there's times where he comes off and he's not fuming with PK, but he's fuming because he's like, fuck up, he's still got, petrol in the tank, And that's the sort of mentality. He's been accustomed to playing 50 games plus in England for his whole career.
Yeah.
So to have a guy like him and come and really not have it as a holiday, that's what I enjoy. And seeing someone like Nooney, who in pre-season was an absolute animal.
That's awesome.
The 6-minute runs, he was blasting everybody, and 21-year-olds running past him, and that's what you want from your foreign players.
That's the example.
Yeah.
Huh? You spoke of the celebratory drinks you were having with Kurt over Zoom, but I mean, have you come back into the celebration still going for the boys? I imagine that you've come back in, and they've obviously saved some of the celebrations for when you guys got out. How's that been?
Yeah, look, the kiddie money's gone, but I've had to dip in my own pocket. But look. Yeah, the boys that were here and could show up made an appearance on Friday night, and it was a nice feeling to see the boys still up and about and celebrating something that hasn't been done before. So if there's ever a week to do it, it's this week to celebrate and let your hair down and But I know July is going to be a big sort of off season because the A-League's such a long time. But you want the boys to enjoy that because. Again, we're going to go for it again next year. Yeah. So you want to have that feeling. You want to have that dressing room feeling, when you're tossing the champagne. And although I missed out on it, I was probably pouring Shiraz over me.
It was a great shot Fox Sports caught of Craig Noon having you on FaceTime running around the ground. I thought that was ace.
Mate, you know how many fucking people I called to try and FaceTime? No one was answering. There was one guy answered.
Hanging up.
They kept hanging up on me. But look, that moment for me, honestly, seeing the boys and actually just being there, and they were, showing me the fans, and some of the fans got to see me from like a little glimpse, and
that's awesome.
Even that was nice, And I think I felt like I was in the moment just for a little bit, and that was enough for me. I was in the dressing room when PK was doing the talk with the boys, and I think I could hear everything, and that was special for me because I don't even think Kurt had that opportunity. So I've got one up him.
Yeah, good. There you go, Kurt. Enjoy that. But you know what? Even though it was only a small thing, I just thought it said a lot about the culture and the family feel that the club must have at the moment.
It is, and that's what I mean. Nooney was running over to a camera, and every single player I actually got to have a chat with, or at least say good luck before the game and congratulations after the game. So for me, that just shows how much, even they appreciate the work that, say, me and Kurt and Connor have put in. And we're a squad, mate. At the end of the day, this game ain't individual, and I feel like we've contributed enough to really enjoy this success. And to be there on that moment was unreal.
Did the gaffer in PK utilize you guys from like any sort of motivational stuff before the game leading up, like any video or just any sort of conversation with the team to kind of share your piece?
No, we didn't have any video, but we during the week I spoke to sort of the attackers, sent a message to Tills and to Collar just to say, look, I know it's a big game, just don't play the occasion, just enjoy yourself. There's going to be 15,000 there, probably the biggest crowd you've ever played in, but hey, it's going to be a grand final. You've got nothing to lose. Go out there. You're a young player. These are the games you want to play in, and just play with freedom. So you saw that in the semi-final. I spoke to them before the semi-final, and those were the two that really sparked the game in the 60th minute.
I really like Collar. I think he's a good player, man.
He's versatile. He can play left, right, down the middle.
Dangerous.
These are the sort of players that our club can attract and bring through the academy. And long may that continue, because at the end of the day, you do need to have younger players that are hungry to see it. And if there's ever a message to our young 14, 15, 16-year-olds, it's like, there's 20-year-olds that are starting for our team at some point. So you've got to be ready.
Yeah, there's literally now a proven path that like some of those young guys, well, Kolikovsky was playing in those age brackets not too long ago, and now he's played. He's just won a grand final.
Look, you got to understand, they've got to bide your time as well. We've all been in it, Jakey. As a young player, you can't just click your fingers and think you're going to start ahead of players who've been at World Cups or played in Asian Cups, Socceroos. So you've got to bide your time and write your own journey. So I'm really proud of those two, and I think there'll be many more to come in the next few seasons.
Yeah, agreed. Now, I want to get on to a bit more of an individual note, because this season for me, watching you was honestly unbelievable. Like Ronaldo and Messi-like numbers, which I'm going to get into. But just for you on a personal note, across your career, like where does this season rank on an individual level for you?
I think from a whole season, after looking at it, it's definitely the best. I can't be better than that, or I can't look back and say what moments have been better. To have more goals than games is something that any striker would be buzzing with. And I think you're always judged on goals. Let's put it frank. People keep saying, you can add more to your game and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you're a striker. You get paid to put the ball in the fucking back of the net. You don't get paid to make tackles, or that's your job. That's why goalkeepers get paid to save. So I think that my season to date probably could have had more goals, if I'm honest. The team around me have been fantastic in creating chances, and I've set the standard a couple of years ago when I scored 20 goals at Brisbane. Then I did it again at Brisbane, and then now I'm kind of hitting the 23s and 25s, and it's going to be hard to reach. But I look at my squad now, I think I can do that again. And the self belief obviously is always there with me, but I work daily. I work daily on individual finishing and making sure that going into games I left no stone unturned. I'm working on heading, different aspects of it, because it's not as easy as just rolling a ball and taking a touch and hit it, because in a game it's not going to come like that. You've got to be almost pessimistic and understand that there's going to be mistakes, and you've got to be ready. So I'd look at my moments. I'd say my best moment in football to date, other than sort of getting picked for a World Cup, would be scoring at Rangers at Ibrox, 50,000 people.
We spoke about that.
I had a penalty, and John McGinn, who's now Scottish legend,
Aston Villa,
didn't want to take it. So
Jesus,
I know.
There you go. I'll do it, Johnny.
Yeah. So he gave me the ball, and that for me, I just somehow will find it hard on a pitch to match that. But look, Melbourne City, winning 2 golden boots in a row, and keep scoring goals for this club. Now I'm the top scorer this club's ever had, and me, man, I'm a proud Melbourne boy.
We both are.
So looking at that, and I just think, this was something that I've always wanted to do, and I've done that, and I don't want to stop. I want to keep going, and that's a big reason why I'm sticking around, mate. I signed a 3-year deal, and the fans and that will see more goals coming from me.
Nah, man, it's true. You're leaving a legacy in the city you grew up in, and the city that gave you so much in regards to like your junior development, and it's pretty special now to see you do it on the professional stage. And given I know you so well, this may seem like a bit of a stupid question, but 25 goals in 24 games the hardest thing to do on a football pitch for me, in general, and for anyone, I think, is to score goals. Why are you so good at scoring goals? Like, I know it sounds stupid, but like, what do you think? Because you've always scored goals, and it's not an easy thing to do, but you've just always had a knack.
Well, I didn't get it from my dad. I'll tell you that.
Dotty.
Yeah, he said he always, every time I see him, he says, "Mate, you can't fucking dribble." I said, "Mate, you could even score. What are you talking about?"
Oh, mate.
Look, I don't know. I think I've just got a knack, and that comes naturally. I think I'm always thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead of maybe the other team or the other defenders. I don't know. I always...
Is it mental? Like, is it more mental? Like, it's just that sort of battle of like staying switched on, taking a chance.
The minute our boys go across the halfway line, I know I'm on, and I've just got to be sort of making my movements and making sure the defenders can't see me or putting myself in an area that I don't go outside of the goal, because if I do, then the finish is going to be 10 times harder.
Agreed.
So, and sometimes the boys put it right on the spot, or sometimes I've got to wait for a mistake. And that's why you see strikers around the world, they're consistently scoring goals every single year. And it's not down to them not working. They work every day, but they've just got something within them naturally that's why you call it a natural goal scorer. And I think that, I actually read a quote by Lukaku the other day, and he said, Ronaldo, Messi, Lewandowski, he goes, these guys all get quoted about, how good are they as strikers? But when Lukaku scores 30 goals, it's all about form.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, a goal scorer is a goal scorer.
100%.
And it doesn't change whether you play in the A-League or you play in Europe. If you can score goals, you'll always sniff out a chance. And that's something that I can do. And I've done that since I was, 12, 13 years of age.
Literally. So the individual level you've had this year has been unbelievable. And you did get some acknowledgements, which I do want to mention. Not only were, I'm going to say, PFA team of the season and captain, which is a major honour because it's voted by the players. It's voted by your peers. So to get that acknowledgement, that's really big, if you ask me. Like, the people you're versing are giving you the honour of, like, he was the best this year.
Look, other than the Championship and the Premiership, that's the biggest award you can get. Okay, the Golden Boot, and, don't get me wrong, they're great. They're great to have. And but to actually be acknowledged by the guys you play against, and the guys that they might not even fucking like me, or
Probably
they might
don't.
I might not have even spoke to them before, or for some reason they're just they've come across them a few times, and some guys may have voted me because they're my mates, but at the same time, if you're getting voted by the guys that you're going out to verse, it's better than any award you can give me, know. And I know people, and you're probably going to ask about the Johnny Warren Award, but
you bet I will.
that winning that is actually 10 times better than winning any sort of Johnny Warren.
I honestly agree. Like, there's more value on that, because I don't know who the fuck picks the Johnny Warren medal, and I'm going to get into that. But I know who picks the PFA team of the season, and they're the ones that actually, for me, I'm like, I'd be more proud of that. And one of the other awards you did win was the Melbourne City's Members Player of the Year, which I know that, again, in itself is a pretty big thing, because that's like your fans, your supporter base. That's pretty big too. And before you do jump on that, people are going like, he did all this but didn't win Melbourne City Player of the Year. If there's anyone that Jamie and I would have loved to see win Melbourne City Player of the Year, it was Curtis Good. After the year he's had, not the year he's had, the 5-6 years he's had leading into this year that have been really challenging for him. And we both know what a player he is and how good he can be. So I think, one, for you winning this award would have been great, but two, seeing him get that, you must have been pretty happy for him.
Yeah. Well, look, Members Player of the Year, I think these are the guys that pay to come watch you play, and it's obviously an honour to win that. But I want to talk about Curtis, and I think people don't actually know the work that he's put in or the shit he's been through to get to where he is today. Mm-hmm. I think the people that are close to him and the people that really know Curtis's story, it's actually inspiring. And I think he deserved the Melbourne City Player Award by a country mile. He was by far the best centre-back in the league. He deserved his Socceroo recall, and he got his cap for the Socceroo again. And he was by far unstoppable this year. He's a brick wall. No one can get past him. And he's just grown and grown and grown. And I'm so proud of him, not only because of how he's had this year, but where he's been and what he's doing now is unbelievable. And he fully deserved that award.
We have to get him on the podcast, hey?
Good luck getting him out of bed.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Curtis, we do need to get you on the podcast. So if you're tuning in, which you're probably not because you're sitting on your mum's couch, mate, we'd love to have you on. Your story is incredible. And just before we move off Kurt, like, he could have easily retired with some of the stuff he's been through from a physical point of view, like the challenge he's had, the surgeries, the trips he was making to all parts of the world to see the best people, in their field. So credit to you, Curto. Obviously, Jamie and I played with Curtis back when we were 12 years old in 2005. So it's pretty special to see what you did this season. But I can't get off the individual acknowledgements without talking about the Johnny Warren medal. So for those listening in, Johnny Warren medal is the best player of the year in the A-League, the Brownlow medal equivalent. Jamie Maclaren scored 25 goals in 24 games. Just let that sink in. In Australia, no one's ever done that before. No one's really ever scored more goals in games. You see that with Ronaldo and Messi out of 1 billion players that play across the world. It is just unheard of. And then on top of that, the team has won the Premiership. They've come first in the league by a country mile. And you don't win the Johnny Warren medal, which, come on. Don't even make the top fucking 3. Bro, what the fuck is going on there? What do you have to do? What do you have to do?
Look, you're asking the wrong guy for starters.
I know, but I'm not saying this for you to vent. I'm venting for you, I think, because it is and I'm not trying to say Ninkovic and Davia didn't have great seasons. Davia is a superstar. Ninkovic is arguably one of the best players to have ever played in the A-League. But come on, man.
Look, I'll stop you there. I think we've already talked about it. The fact that I won, or had the most votes in the Peers PFA team of the season, that was enough for me. So, Jakey, Golden Boot's mine. The Premiership, the Championship's mine. I'll let you vent, but mate, for me, it's just we move on and just not motivation for next year because I don't go into every season wanting to win the Johnny Warren Award.
No, of course you don't. I think it's more just for me on the outside. It's it doesn't add up, and I have no emotion tied to it because I wasn't playing. But it doesn't make sense to me. I'll move on because I do want to start speaking a little bit more about you. And for those that haven't heard the first podcast I had with Jamie, I highly recommend you go back and listen to that one because we talk about mine and Jamie's childhood playing together, some of the the highs and lows we had, and a lot of people still don't know that Jamie, despite all he's achieving now, didn't get picked in the under-13 state team, didn't get picked in the Australian Institute of Sport, and by far has he made that sort of a big regret for all those coaches that were associated with those decisions. But when you go into the preseason coming up now, and even before games, and I touched on this around why you're so good at scoring, because I just want to pick your mentality and what you do from a preparation perspective, because I know you're a top pro. But what's sort of your method to get you firing? What are the things you'll focus on either going into a game or if, for instance, now going into preseason to try and top the season you have? Do you have your eyes on things that you want to work on?
Yeah, I've always sort of thought the harder you work, the luckier you get. So, if you burst your ass for 90 minutes, you might not get the run of the game, but you might get the bounce of the ball and it falls to you in 90th minute. You don't see me for 89 minutes, but the 90th minute I scored the winner.
You're the king of that.
For me, I always think the harder you work, and obviously the way we play, we press high and we try and force errors and force mistakes. But as much as pre-season's a killer, it sets you up. And last year we've had about 6 pre-seasons because of the COVID disruptions. So me and Jamo were running on athletics track down in Aberfeldy, and we were doing proper runs. I'm talking almost the fittest we've ever been. Guaranteed.
Really?
Guaranteed. This is not match fitness. This is proper 400 meters in a minute or whatever. So we're doing them consistently. So I just feel the work that you put in sets you up, and it does help when you've got consistent run of games. And look, mate, I've had a season where I've been not been injured, and that plays a massive part. Injuries in this game, mate, it's they either take you one way or another. And I've been so fortunate, and that comes back to Melbourne City and the facilities that they put out for us.
Yeah, of course.
If I didn't have these facilities, you might have seen here hammy tears, or you might have seen little things here and there, but they give me everything that I just need to go out there, put my work in, go there from 9, get home by 3, and make sure that I tick every single box, before training, after training, and you put yourself in the best position forward for game time. And pre-season, although it's long, it sets you up massively. And at the same time, I'm going to enjoy the next 4 weeks. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, so you should.
But in August, it's game time, and we go again. And I look forward to the 6-minute runs and all that. I'm sure you know all about that.
Oh, mate, that's that's impressive because also Scott Jamieson, have to acknowledge what an unbelievable season he had. I also did, forget to say when we're speaking about the individual awards, like the biggest honour that you got this year was captain of the Unlaced podcast A-League team of the season. So I'll somehow get you a trophy so you can put that up next to you.
That's better than the Johnny Warren brother.
Yeah, because it's voted by me. They're like, wait, why is his 3 best mates to start? No. On a like, this is just going to be a bit of an interesting one because I'm going to ask you something and I just want you to, what first comes to your mind? Like, what's your feeling? 100 goals in the A-League.
Only 2 people have done it. That's my feeling. You know, it was when I scored my first one, I thought, fuck, man, Archie's 90, Smeltsy's 92. They're ages away from me. Like, I've got a long way to go. But now I'm past them. And you kind of think, well, what's next? And the only guy in front of me is that beast, Barisha.
Yeah.
He just keeps coming back every single year, man. And I just keep tracking him down. And look, what a striker. What an absolute animal. And in front of goal, he's hungry as ever. And you could say that he's actually part of me. He motivates me because you want to be like him and you want to be that goal scorer who the team looks at. And when he was at Victory and Brisbane, mate, they looked at him to score goals. And I feel like now I'm 27. I kind of think maybe Melbourne City players look at me like, okay, well, Macca, any danger? You got to score or what?
Yeah. Do you know what? Actually, I think the worst part of for opposition teams about you now going forward, knowing you, is Besart Barisha. If he wasn't there, well, it's not so bad. But now you've got something to chase, and you will chase it, no doubt about it. Because what is he at? You're on like low, well, say 100 and something, but he's on what, 130?
I'm on 104, and believe Bess is on 141.
141. Unbelievable, Besart Barisha. Like,
Oh,
can
look,
say what you want
yeah,
about him, but 141 goals.
Let's firstly put it out there, Bess, you're a machine, mate. So
that's phenomenal. And he's like you now. You can say you're doing it and winning championships. Like he scored goals and won. But I just wanted to acknowledge that, man. Like 100 goals in the A-League. Like, who would have thought when we were playing grassroots soccer?
I know, mate. I was the same. I was almost surprised when I was within touching distance of becoming the second all time because I knew Bess was so far ahead. But when I scored my first goal for Perth Glory against Melbourne Heart, which is now City, and the defender playing was PK, so you kind of think,
crazy.
It's like that was my first goal, and you think, one goal.
Who was that for, Glory?
That was for Glory against Melbourne Heart.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, okay, well, 90 goals is a lot of goals. And I've just continued to stay on my path, believed, and worked on a lot of things and had some great teams and great service along the way. And here I am, mate, 104.
It's crazy, man, because we spoke about this last time, and I'll just reiterate it again, but I think I called the last episode we did, The Lawnmower's on Fire. But a boy from Sunbury who in the backyard was pretty much somewhat like an 18-yard box, a bit bigger, and a soccer goal. Which when I went over there as a kid, it was like heaven. It was like Christmas every time because you just turn and shoot and whatever. But a boy from Sunbury that had lawnmowers on fire, shooting all day, every day, not making state teams or AAS, and you're on track to be the greatest goal scorer domestically that we have. Like, that is unbelievable. And I'm sure even your stern old man is giving you a pat on the back for that.
Yeah, I think he is. Like I said, man, I'm just proud to obviously to reach the milestone of when I reach 50, then get to 100, and you kind of go, okay, what's next? So if you really go off that, you go 150, and you kind of say, well, I've got another 3 years left at Melbourne City on my contract. So, if you go 50, I'll try and get 50 in those 3 years. I'll aim for that, and I'll secretly set my goals and work towards them, and obviously have good service behind me and make sure that I'm ready every single game to hit the back of the net. But I won't let slide the fact that winning a championship is now the standard, and I want to win a fucking championship every year, and I want to be a part of a grand final next year and the year after, and just keep going and keep building something that this club deserves and that the owners deserve, because the fans are great and they've been amazing. The ones that have stuck from Melbourne Heart to Melbourne City, hats off to you guys, and you've been through the shit and you've been through the great, and now it's kind of a bit of a thank you to the owners, because they could have easily pulled the pin. Not saying, but it does happen in football.
All the time.
And, so for these owners to stick by us, they've stuck by us, and they're moving us down to Casey and really investing some big money, and they see a real prize with us. And I think that us as players, it's our due to go out there, perform, entertain, and get 3 points every single week, or work to get 3 points every single week.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, it's a business at the end of the day. So to have the people from the business standpoint backing you is always going to give confidence. back into the playing group. Before I jump into the Socceroos setup and I guess that world of Jamie Maclaren, probably one question I wanted to ask, and we touched on it a little bit, but particularly if you're a young player, like the advice I think you could give here would be really beneficial, because I always found it difficult if I wasn't playing well in a game, is like how to stay checked in, how to get myself out of a rut, how to get myself out of bad 15, 20, 30 minutes, a bad half, whatever. With you, you've always, like, you were notorious at times, if you weren't playing well, that you would still pop up and be the difference maker, which, don't know if that's just your mentality, but for you, how do you keep yourself in a game when things aren't going your way?
I think I might have said it last time, but my little motto daily is like, just never be satisfied, you know, and training, you know, do extras and put yourself in the best position. But with games, you know, I used to have, say, I miss a chance and your body language and stuff like that used to be not the greatest. But now if I miss a chance, I'm like, you know what, fuck that. I've got teammates around me who will give me a next one. And if the next one I miss, then that's on me. But, you know, you're human. You're going to miss chances. You're not going to score every single chance you get. But you can put yourself in the best position possible. And my mentality is it's almost like a tennis player. You know how if they miss a shot, or, you know, you don't see Federer sitting there on his knees, you know, fucking throwing his hands in the air. Mate, they move on. Yeah. You got to move on.
Nick Kyrgios might though, but no.
Yeah. Look, he's a different breed. But I mean, you see those tennis players, even golfers. You know, when do you ever see them?
Yeah, you just move on.
They just move on, and it's sort of as a striker. And look, strikers and goalkeepers are judged on one thing, and it's different to say midfielders and say fullbacks and maybe wingers, who, you know, you're not always having the pressure of having to put the ball in the back of the net or kick the ball out of the net. And that's just fact. It's not. I'm not trying to twist anything. That's just a fact of the game. And you know, I've put my hand up since I was 13 years of age to be a striker. I moved from right back to the right wing to striker. So the minute I moved to a striker, I knew I had the pressure, and that's something I've always just thrived off. And
Socceroo camp, man. And the World Cup qualifiers, obviously, we've just been drawn into the third stage of the World Cup qualifiers against Japan, Saudi Arabia, Vietnam, Oman, and China. But just jumping back into the camp you just came out of, obviously you were serving the quarantine for it. How was that?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it's tough, mate. The conditions probably you couldn't see on TV, but mate, we were training in sandstorms. You know, I was doing the warm up with sand in the back of our throat, spitting it out.
Oh.
And these are the things training on. You know, down the back was better at my house.
It's like that though, man.
know?
People don't understand how hard Asia is.
They
Like
don't.
it's. Well, I think I spoke with this with James Troisi, and it's like, it's not to down credit the opposition, because the opposition in Asia is like really good. They're underrated. A lot of those nations. Obviously, the Japan and Saudi Arabia's aren't, but all competition's hard. But there is a component there where you are playing the weather.
Well, I remember speaking to one of the guys when I was in Germany, and he said, you know, who are you playing next national team? I said, we're playing Saudi Arabia. He said, Saudi, do they even have a team? Oh, my God. And then I said, mate, they're fucking good. Trust me. They're actually a very good team. And then Saudi Arabia, what happens in the World Cup? They get pumped 5-0 by Russia. And the guys text me saying, yeah, man, they're a good team. So, that went against me. But look, those teams and those conditions are so hard. Like, I would love to see, you know, England going to, say, Saudi Arabia in 45-degree heat. Because I heard them on fucking the Euros talk, oh, how hot is it at Wembley? 25 degrees. 25, times that by 2 and then try and play.
Yeah, come play a game at Perth Glory
in the
middle of summer.
Ball's bouncing up at Harry Kane's shins.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, you know where we'll get a taste of that is the World Cup in Qatar. That'll be the first real sort of like, we'll see how people go with it.
Well, here you go. Why they have an aircon stadium?
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly
We haven't played in aircon stadiums.
Yeah, and they'll do that on purpose.
But so, yeah, I mean, look, it's an honour to play for your country, mate, and you'll do anything. And what I will say is, it was actually great that we had 4 games in the space of 12 days.
Yeah.
Normally you just go and play 2 and you come home. So you might play 1 and come off the bench, or you always make an appearance. But to actually be there for 4 games was actually was really good. And to see a lot of the boys after 2 years, man, we haven't seen these boys since 2019.
Wow.
So and even for me, I missed the actual last camp in Jordan because I tore my hammy. So even before that, I haven't been involved with Socceroos for over 2 years. So it was nice to be back and to see all the familiar faces and put on that shirt, mate. You can't beat it.
Bloody oath. So this next stage of the World Cup qualifiers, is this the last phase?
Yep.
So top 2 of the group will go in, or is it how does it work?
Yeah, look, they were talking about restructuring it, but I think it's still top two, and then the best third place will face a
The South American team.
I think that's still the format they're going with.
Yep.
But yeah, last year, the last time the Socceroos did that, they went through Honduras. So
Yeah, okay. What's your first sort of take on the group?
it's a mixed bag, isn't it? Like, Japan, top quality.
We always get Japan.
Always, yeah. We seem to always get Japan, but look, don't you want to play the best?
True.
You always want to see where you're at, and yeah, we've got Saudi Arabia, so it'll be good to go in sandstorm again. And then you got
Vietnam, Oman, and China.
Yeah, look, going to China will be interesting.
Yeah.
To see how everything's panned out, and China as a nation now, you do hear of things where they're naturalizing Brazilians. Their coaches are all foreign, so you're going to see. I don't know, what's his name? The striker for Elkison. He plays for China now.
Oh, does he?
He's been there for 5 or 6 years,
So
and
he's a citizen.
so I think they're doing a lot of that now, and they've invested heaps of money into their academies. So Chinese players will only get better, and the Socceroos played them in the last Asian Cup, but it'll be interesting to see how they go now. And Oman, we've played them before. We beat them comfortably in Dubai, and Vietnam, the unknown. I've played them at Olyroos level. And they're fit, they're quick, they're nippy, and
They are, yeah.
it's just and they're hungry, mate. They fly in for challenges, and it's just I'm more interested to see how it's going to be, where our home games are going to be.
Yeah.
Because look, we're so strong at home. Regardless of the golden generation, the Socceroos, the generation that Ange had, Arnie's generation. Now it's like every single camp that Socceroos have at home, they always win.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see, and I hope. Look, you never want to put sort of the health at risk, but we need to start having Socceroo games at home, because it's going to be hard for boys not to play in front of their home fans, and the Australian public deserve it.
It's important, man. It's important for our game, and like the people. That's what connected us to the sport, was going to watch the Socceroos and packing up the home stadiums for these games. Yeah. Speaking of and one thing just on this as well, it's become a little bit normalised for Socceroos to win in Asia and also qualify for World Cups, but it's not to undermine. It is really hard. Like it's home and away legs in these countries. As you said, the home fixtures, they're still in doubt of how that's going to look. It's a really hard thing to do. So it will be amazing that if we can get there, given obviously the last few years, and as you mentioned, the camps have been kind of split up. But I'm interested to know, just around the group that you touched on in Arnie's generation, somewhat a relatively new group, like a relatively young team forming, or at least some inexperienced Socceroos, a lot of debutants in the past few camps. How's that been for you? What's it been like, sort of seeing that all come together? Yeah,
good. And I think there's a lot more players that had their hand up for selection. I think we've got a big group of players that could easily be selected, and it's nice to see some of the familiar faces and the boys that. Obviously, guys like Matty Ryan, Trent, the custodians, if you want to call them, and that have been around for so long and played over 50 games for their country, which is huge.
Mental.
And then you've got guys who we know, like Jackson Irvine, who he's got 30 odd caps now, and Milosh, and these players are guys that we play with in the Olyroos, and how they've doubled sort of my appearances for Socceroos. They've just been unreal in the last 2 or 3 years. So the squad's good. It's got a good balance. I think Arnie, now that he's in charge of the Olyroos as well, he's starting to integrate some of those boys, and Connor Metcalf fully deserved his call-up and got his Socceroo appearance, and I think he got 2 caps now. So awesome. A player like him fully deserves that. He's gone from, since I joined, he's gone from a boy to a man, and I've seen that growth.
That's mental.
And I think it's actually good for other players to see how quickly you can go from not even a starter at Melbourne City to actually starting a game for the Socceroos.
Mental.
So, yeah, there's a lot of players that you do need to build that experience. You don't just, and I don't want to take it lightly, but you don't just get picked for soccer. You've got to earn that call up for Socceroos. Like every time I've been picked, mate, I've had to earn that. I've had to score over 20 goals. Like my first Socceroo cap, mate, I had to score 35 A-League goals to even be considered.
Yeah.
So I had to grind through that to be selected. But I'm not saying that players are just given caps here and there, but they've actually worked for it. And when they first get their appearance, you would think, okay, they look back and they say, all the work was worth it.
Yeah. You know what? Arnie said something on this, I think, when Ruan Tongyik got picked up or got selected for the Socceroos. He said something, I hope I get this right, but it was like something like there's only been 600 people that have played for the Socceroos.
True.
In the history of, in 100 years.
Well, I'm 5'8", 4.
So that just shows like how how rare it is, how special it is when you think of that. In 100 years, only 600 people have played for their country at the highest level in this country in football, which is, you hear people playing 50 caps, 30 caps, scoring goals. Like, it's just an unbelievable achievement. And for the average Joe like me, and for the listeners out there, can you, what are the Socceroos camps like? Like, what is it actually like day to day for you?
Oh, look, you wake up, you have breakfast, you do your wellness, you go in there, weigh yourself.
Is it very regimented, like a lot of sort of structure?
Oh, heaps. I mean, now was a bit sort of overkill with the COVID situation. Masks everywhere, and we had to do it. It's part of it. But normally it's just wake up, have breakfast, say hello to the squad and the staff, and then you chill. The problem is with Socceroo camps is because you're playing in those countries, you actually don't train till like 7 p.m. at night because you can't train. You can't train. So you end up just sitting on your bed and chatting shit with the boys, or sitting in the social room having a coffee, playing PlayStation, and you kind of kill time like that. But there's the standard lunch times and all that, and meetings and stuff. But it's more just nice to hear other boys' stories. Some boys, even for me, I was in negotiations with Melbourne City at the time, so you're kind of talking with the other lads. Okay, they're saying I've got an offer from them, and it's nice to talk about other boys' journeys. So I think that's something that sticks by, and obviously you find out guys like Brad Smith who is living in America now. I just wanted to see how he's going, and it's nice to catch up with him, and it's like you haven't been away because you have that bond for a very long time.
Is it a little bit surreal that like some of the teammates now you're playing with in the Socceroos you were playing with as a kid, and like you just look at each other and like we're all here in the same environment, like the most elite level we can.
It honestly just makes you feel old. I think from I remember under 12s. Me, you, Jacko, Curtis.
There's a photo of the under 12 Victorian primary school state team, the first possible state team we could make. I mean, I was in there, but like, let's be real. Jackson Irvine, Curtis Good, and Jamie. There's a photo of 3 11-year-olds playing in the same team who are all now playing for the Socceroos.
I'll just say, Curtis was up front. I was at right back.
Yeah.
How funny how things have changed.
Huh? Yeah, that's right. For good cause as well.
Imagine putting Curtis up front now.
Yeah. Hold up, striker. Oh, God. But it's pretty special, man. Like, I just think, like, because even for me, like, from the outside playing with some of you guys, and there's obviously a lot of players that we played at a young age who weren't from Victoria, but across, like, the state teams and stuff like that, that you just link up with now, and it's like, it's weird because you've known them your whole life. Do you know what I mean?
It's all that saying of the small percentages make it, and that's true. We've seen it, mate. We've had to grind and get to the highest level possibly in Australia. But the old saying is, what cream rises to the top. And if you continue to grow and improve and want to be hungry to succeed in this game, then you'll always get there. And I think the minute you play a professional game in the A-League, you can kind of say you've made it because you've reached the highest point in Australia.
Yeah, funny oath. Moving back to Melbourne City and Melbourne, obviously your beloved home state, or ours, I should say. You mentioned you were in negotiations whilst you were away on Socceroo camp. You confirmed a 2-year extension with the club a couple of weeks ago now, which was pretty good timing, I would have thought, leading into the final series for some of the boys. It would have been a real boost seeing that, like the spearhead sticking around. So this is what this is about. But I guess for you, because there would be people from the outside that would say, well, you've done so much here already. You're at an age where maybe you could go back overseas, back to Europe, the Middle East, or whatever. What sort of gave you the clarity to stay?
Yeah, there was mixed reviews or whatever you want to call it. I think a lot of people had their opinion, and that's fine. But at the same time, I look at my career to date with Melbourne City and my games and goals and how many minutes I've played. It's a short career, mate. I think when you retire, you kind of think, okay, how many games have I played? Or, and I right now I've had one injury at this club. I'm enjoying my football. I'm playing every single week. We're successful. It's a great club. I'm back home in Melbourne. It actually was an easier decision than people think. There was interest, mate. There always is with players. There's always talk, and my agent sort of said that there's this possible, and there might be this. But what people need to understand is when you're under contract, someone has to buy you. So if a club wants to buy me, it doesn't just because I accept it doesn't mean Melbourne City accept it. So Melbourne City, if they've ever had an offer, if they've declined it, then that's really on them. If they have come to me and said, look, Jamie, we're actually keen to keep you for another couple more years till 2024. Would you be interested? Mate, that's almost music to your ears because you kind of think, well, I'm loving my football here. If you're happy on the field, you're happy off it, and vice versa. So I kind of think, well, yeah, I'm happy to stay. And if someone wanted to buy you, they'll still buy you under contract. So
Yeah.
regardless, I just want to know in terms of security, but not just that. I want to know that I want to build something at this club, and not. I said it in an interview a couple of weeks ago before it got announced. I actually want to be a Melbourne City legend. Like I want to be the person that, you know, when you think of Melbourne City, you think, okay, well, it's Jamie Maclaren, or you know, well, I am the top scorer for this club's ever had, but I want the next fucking number 9 to come to this club and go, wow, I've got over 80
It's
goals.
like similar to Archie at Victory in a sense, right? Like
I've got to, I want them to be like, I've got to catch this guy. Like that's kind of the legacy that I want to have, and you know, knowing that, you know, let's be honest, I'm going to retire in Melbourne. I'm going to live in Melbourne, so you know, I'm going to have my family around me, and knowing that I've created something at this club, and I want to keep continuing to be at this football club. So they've given me so much as well, right? So it's almost like for me to walk out the door. Would have been not right at the same point, but I still feel as if I have more to give for this club, and it's a great relationship we've got going. You know, a great squad. I love working under PK, and the staff, the admin staff, and from the CEO, and even from Brian Marwood and Simon Pearce, who have backed me from day one. You know, they didn't have to. You know, I was playing in Scotland on loan from Germany, and
playing as a number 8.
Yeah. I mean, not that they threw me a lifeline, but they threw me an opportunity to come home and really show. And I knew I was going to do it. You know, if someone said to me, you're going to have 53 goals in 58 games, you're going to do that, I would have said yes. Yeah. But you got to go out and prove that. So, and I've done that, and it's nice to be rewarded from City, to be handed with a new long-term deal. And I can't wait for next season to start and years to come.
It's possibly the greatest answer we've ever had on this podcast. That was phenomenal. And I really do believe, actually, like, I know when you speak it, you believe it, and I can feel that. So I'm super excited. And obviously the project excited you enough to commit long term. For you, across these sort of next 2-3 years, like, what is it that you would really want to achieve, like, to maximize? Like, if you look back in 3 years, and what are the boxes you want to have ticked?
Well, yeah, to be honest, when I first joined, I was like, this club needs to win something. You know, I was playing for Brisbane Roar when they won the FFA Cup, and hadn't won anything since, and last year got to a grand final within touching distance of that, and this year we've just been a completely whole new beast, and I feel as if let's continue to roll on that. Let's add a few more faces, because that's what happens in football. You know, you're going to lose some, you're going to gain some, and I want to keep building. I want to keep driving the new players that come. You know, guys like myself, Roston Griffiths, obviously Jamo the captain, who it all comes down from him, but we want to drive the new players who haven't experienced what the Melbourne City standard is like to actually say, listen, we want to win something. Just because we won last year, we go again. Yeah. So I want to be a part of that, and I want to next year do it again. But that just doesn't come by clicking your fingers. Yeah. I've seen that. You know, I saw that at the start of this year. We were in a grand final last year, and we lost 3 on the trot this year. Yeah. And I thought we were at a stage in that season where we were just like, we'll just turn up and win. But no, you got to work to win. Yeah. And that's something that PK's driven into us, and that's something that, you know, we'll know that it's probably put us in good stead to know that next season, every single game you got to be on. Yeah.
Jamie Maclaren, it's been a pleasure, my friend. You know I love you. I love having you on this show. It's the second time we've had you on.
Am I the only person that's been on twice?
Johnny McCain did make a cameo twice.
I'll let you off. Johnny McCain's a great guy, and you've known him for a long time.
But yes, exclusive episodes. No, you're the only one that's been on twice. Johnny was part of the A-League season review overview, which was 3 people. So it's not going to be your last either. We love you on this show.
I'm on for the hat trick, mate.
Yeah, you were going the hat trick. We'll always time it well. But I just want to thank you, man. Obviously, want to acknowledge the year you've had. As we said, 25 goals, 24 games, 100 goals in the A-League. Championships, the double. I mean, it is literally the perfect season, but it does not just get gifted to you. That comes with tremendous amount of effort and hard work. And I know if there's anyone that's going to back it up and not let that get to their head, it's probably you. So
thanks, brother.
Excited for next year, bro.
Yeah, I can't wait. Obviously, thanks for having me on, and I hope next year when we chat again, it's a three-peat, and maybe the Johnny Warren Award again.
Yeah, come on, man. Honestly, I'm going to make a fake Johnny Warren and wear it on our next one. God. Quality. Oh, pleasure, bro. Thank you again.
No worries, brother. Thank you.
Done.